story problems. That's what we're going to take a look at today. The difference is that instead of dealing with standard notation, we're going to be using scientific notation. The cool thing is I've only taught you to use addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of scientific notated numbers. So we're looking at fourth grade level story problems, or even easier as this one is. Let's take a look at this one where it's using standard notation. Tommy owned 4 dogs, 1 dog died. How many dogs does Tommy own now? Well, it used to be in grade school they would teach you to do some sort of symbolic representation of, hey, here's the 4 dogs. Now one of them is, no longer there. How many dogs does Tommy have now? 3 of them. And so that's the answer, 3 dogs. Then they started relating it to the idea of, you know what? How many dogs did you have at the beginning? 4 dogs. Well, this other dog, is it going to be taken away or is it being added to the original? Well, in this case, it's being taken away, or subtraction. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So Tommy has 3 dogs now. Why did I take the time to write this out? Because it's a story problem. You need to actually put your answer in a sentence, and it needs to answer exactly what it needs. So that's why I took the time to do that. What about this, though? Tommy owned 4 times 10 to the 0 power dogs. It looks a little crazy, doesn't it? Well, that literally means he has 4 dogs. It's just written in scientific notation. 1 times 10 to the 0 dogs died. So 1 dog died. How many dogs does Tommy own now? Well, let's set this up. This is how many he had at the beginning. This is how many dogs that died. Let's see, if this was 4 dogs and this was 1 dog, what would I do? Oh yeah, I'd subtract. So let's go through and use subtract here. They have the same exponent, so now I can just subtract the front numbers. 4 minus 1 is 3, and keep the exact same exponent. So how many dogs does Tommy own now? Tommy has 3 times 10 to the 0 dogs. Or since it says owns, we could say Tommy owns. So that's fine. The only true difficulty that we have is looking at the scientific notation. And so the best thing that I can tell you to do is that when you read one of these problems, just come through there and in your mind make up a fake standard notation number that kind of makes more sense to the situation, and then ask yourself, what would you do? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So if we said Tommy owned 4 dogs, 1 dog died, or one of the dogs died. That's a bad grammar right there. How many dogs does Tommy own now? So we'd go, oh, 4 minus 1. But then what you do is, after you know that you're subtracting, come back through and replace your made up numbers with the scientific notated numbers, and then do the same thing that you said you'd do, in this case subtract. So at this point, pause the video, go through, see if you can answer numbers 25 and 26. Let me put 26 up here so you can see that a little bit better. And hit play on the video when you're ready. Okay, so on 25, Billy had a lot of acres of land and he sold some. How many acres does he have now? Sounds like subtraction to me, so let's set it up. So here's how many acres he had. This is how many he sold, which means we need to take this amount away from what he had for the new amount, the acres he owns now. So since they don't have the same exponent, we need to basically drag this over 2 spots because we had to raise this up by 2. And it will be 0.019 times 10 to the 80th now. We can now subtract our front numbers. 2.4 minus 0.019 is 2.381 times 10 to the 80th power. Now, if you still don't like the idea of what I'd said originally of substituting in fake numbers, like if he had 10 acres of land and he sold 1, how many acres would he own now? 9 acres, because 10 minus 1. See, it's that idea of substituting it in so that way you know for sure you're doing the right operation. You can also convert all of this over to standard notation. However, that's to the 80th power. That's going to be a lot. So I would highly recommend that you just substitute in fake numbers if you're wanting to double check your work there. When we take a look at number 26, that one's a little bit different. Mary bought some stock, and she had 1.2 times 10 to the third power dollars of stock. This one's a little bit easier to go to the standard notation. So here's 1.2, and we'd move it over 3 times. So basically, Mary had $1,200 or $1,200. The stock increased 1.2 times 10 to the first power. That would be increasing it by 12 times. What is Mary's stock worth now? Well, you could actually need to multiply it. And let me actually just work this out. 1,200 times 12 is $14,400. Now, you can also do it keeping it in scientific notation form. She had this much money invested into the stock, and then it increased this many times. Well, 1.2 times 1.2 is 1.44. So that's going through and making sure you multiply the front numbers. And then we just add the exponents together, and there's our answer. So, and since we're talking about money, we can put the money sign right there. For both of these, I would prefer you to restate it in a sentence. Number 25, Billy had 2.381 times 10 to the 80th power acres after he sold the land. And on 26, Mary's stock is now worth 1.44 times 10 to the fourth power.